King Air 785, Squawk 4036, ident. King Air 785, turn right heading 190, descend to 3,500. King Air 785, descend and maintain 2000, altimeter 299.93. King Air 785, turn left heading of 050. King Air 785, contact tower on 120.6.
King Air 785, enter right base for runway 14 right, you're cleared to land.
You have just watched a demo of the EasySim panel, or the ESP. This video will cover the hardware, software, and the features, and to show you how to put an ESP together to go flying with Microsoft Flight Sim, and what interactive features you can expect from it. First, the hardware. At the heart is a 7-inch capacitive touchscreen with a resolution of 800 by 480 pixels. To build the EC panel, you need to follow this schematic for the wiring.
Okay, people, move along. There's nothing to see here.
That's right, there's nothing to see here, because the screen itself is the only hardware that we need. This board has an ESP32S3 built right in. You can get one nowadays between $30 and $40 US. Just plug and play. The second component that you need to buy is SPAD.neXt. It is the software that runs on your PC to work as the interface between the SIM and the EC panel. It's a payware that costs 25 euros. The final piece of the puzzle is the firmware. It's a free open source download. You simply flash it into your display board. More about that later. Now let's see how this thing works. Since there's a how to use PDF to cover the operation in much more details, I'll go through the features very quickly here. After powering up, you will be in the situation screen. It is the foundation of the EasySim panel. This single screen is designed to give you the essential information and controls. First, you have a section for the flight data. And here are two independent navigation units, where you can specify a waypoint such as airports and VORs. And you have a little graphic presentation to guide you to the waypoint. Right below, you have access to the basic autopilot settings, which you can see and modify right from here. A reason why the autopilot is grouped with the navigation display is that you can actually couple the autopilot to the EC panel to let the logic in the ESP to fly the airplane right onto the final approach. To the left, you will find more control for the autopilot. And then the engine monitoring section. On the bottom row is the area for the flight controls and movable surfaces. Again, you can operate many of them by touch. Finally, we have a corner for the various environmental information. The wind indicator is useful to have. It shows you the headwind and crosswind. Hey, you can even keep an eye on the frames per second here. Lastly, we have the manual button. It is the gateway to all the pages to support all types of functions. organized into pages. Let's see what's available. First, you can configure your EC panel with this page. For example, setting the display units. In the radios page, you can set the COM and the nav frequency using a pop-up keypad. Also control the audio, the transponder code, and selecting the transponder modes. The autopilot page gives you access to some secondary settings, such as the course selection for the VORs. The waypoint page lets you look up airports, nav-aids, and intersections around the world. We are currently somewhere over Oregon in the US. Let's look up Portland, KPDX. There we have the result from the panel's very own built-in database. Let's play with this nearest button. Let's call up the nearest search page. Launch the search, and we have a list of nearby airport based from Portland. The distance and bearing to each of the airports. Let's say we are interested only in the nearest international airports in Canada from this location. So I'll add a search filter INTERNA and change the ID filter to the letter C, the prefix for Canadian airports, and search. Okay, we have the list of qualified airports. We can pick Vancouver, and the waypoint is seamlessly transferred back to the situation page for navigation use. If you launch the nearest page from the menu, then your search will be based on the current position of the aircraft. And then we have this time machine page to change the time in the simulator. You can dial in the time of days easily and use this one to accelerate the passage of time. Lastly, we also have a page for manipulating the various switches in the cockpit. Well, that was a quick show and tell for the current state of the ECSIM panel. If you find this interesting, you should refer to the PDF for the full rundown of the feature set. And for those who have watched the videos on the other project, the touchscreen mini panel, you may be wondering why bother with this lesser ECSIM panel. The key reason is because it's easy, cheap and easy to build. For someone who doesn't want to or not able to do any wiring, this is an alternative. And I have a summary comparison of the two projects for you. The screen itself. As a user, the difference between the two is that the TMP has the option for a big 10-inch display at a cost naturally. The ESP does not use rotary encoders. I have planned to add a single optional encoder into the design though. They both use the same processor. Externally, there's no difference to the user. Only the TMP can work with X-Plane. There's no plan for the ESP to support X-Plane. The user interface. Here the ESP is centered around the situation page as you have seen from the demo. Then you open up the other pages on top of the base page. While the TMP does have a full screen situation page as well, but it can also display a combination of two half-screen pages at one time. The ESP as a start only works with some generic Microsoft Flight Sim aircraft, while the TMP has customized pages for aircraft such as the fly-by-wire and the PMDG. I have planned to see how to make the design to be user configurable in order to support customization. Both products has the same built-in database. But for the TMP, it is possible to turn on Wi-Fi to fetch the weather information from the internet. The virtual joystick button page. It is already working in the TMP, but I doubt anyone is really using it. It allows the panel to generate joystick button code that you can bind to the SIM to manipulate aircraft operations. I expect this feature can be ported to the ESP to work in conjunction with the customization effort. Now come to building this thing. You still remember the schematic diagram earlier? The ESP really has nothing to build. You can get the panel running by downloading its firmware. The TMP on the other hand has 4 encoders, the display plus a couple of resistors that you need to wire everything together. The processor and the display require separate firmware loading, and it needs 2 USB cables instead of 1. The bottom line, the cost. The actual parts cost will depend on where you buy them. Okay, the last thing I want to share is some insider information, meaning what's inside the zip package, which you can download from my Google Drive. In the bin files folder are the binary files for you to flash to the display board. More about this in the next folder. The documentation folder contains, well, documentations. For instance, the how to build PDF will have the step-by-step instructions for flashing the binary files to your display. Another PDF to show you how to set up SPAD.next on the PC. The how to use PDF shows you the gory details about every little feature. And you should also take a look at the design notes if you intend to build your own panel. And there you have it, the rollout of the EasySim panel. I hope you have found it interesting. Thank you for watching. Be seeing you.